In this video, we will be going over various cyber attacks that are launched against computer systems and users. Cyber attack is a term that covers a broad range of attacks. Here we want to discuss some of the important ones. Cyber attack is basically an offensive act that targets computer information systems, computer networks, and infrastructure. The objective of a cyber attack include stealing, altering, destroying information, or taking down servers. Hackers who commit cyber attacks are the people or malicious software agents that attempt to target vulnerable information and communication systems. As discussed in the previous video, cybersecurity has 4 dimensions: confidentiality, integrity, availability, and non-repudiation. If any of these dimensions is targeted, the security of the system is in danger. Therefore, security threats are not limited to stealing and modifying information. If a server is unable to respond to the requests of its clients, its availability is compromised, and therefore the system is considered insecure. Cyber attacks can be classified into 2 categories: active and passive. In active attacks, system data are altered or their operation gets disrupted, such as altering a database through SQL injection. So active attacks mostly target the integrity and availability of the system. However, in passive attacks, hackers try to learn from the system by breaching the confidentiality of the system, such as port scanning and wiretapping. The most common types of attacks include viruses, worms, Trojan horses, SQL injection, man-in-the-middle, phishing, spoofing, denial of service, DNS tunneling, and ransomware. A virus is malware that attaches itself to another program to reproduce. So virus needs a host program to spread itself. It alters the way computers operate and does various types of damage by deleting and corrupting files. The most common types of viruses include macrovirus, which is programmed into an attached macro file. Macros are often used in spreadsheets, databases, and word processing documents. A macrovirus hides within an application's macro and gets activated when the macro is run. Boot sector virus targets the boot sector of a machine. It resides on removable media, and when the system boots, the virus moves into the host system and infects the system. Boot sector viruses are mostly found in external hard disk drives and flash drives. File infector virus is a virus that infects a piece of executable code, such as .exe and .com files. When the program is executed, the host computer gets infected. Worm is a type of virus that does not need a host to replicate, so it is a self-sustaining program that copies itself without needing other programs. A Trojan horse is a type of malware embedded in software and acts like a backdoor to gather information from a system. It is mostly found in the trial version of some software. A Trojan horse is a piece of code that looks legitimate but can take control of a system. Unlike viruses and worms that can execute and replicate themselves, a Trojan needs a user to execute it. It spreads through social engineering, such as fake advertisements or email attachments. They can perform a range of malicious actions. Many Trojans tend to contact command and control C2 servers across the internet to send out the system's information. Ransomware attacks are often carried out using Trojan horses. Some common types of Trojans are provided here. Backdoor Trojan can create a backdoor on computers to let attackers access the computers and control them. With backdoor Trojan, data can be downloaded by a third party, or even more malware can be uploaded to the system. Downloader Trojan targets a previously infected computer. It downloads and installs new versions of Trojans and adware. Fake AV Trojan behaves like antivirus software but demands money from users to detect and remove threats. Mailfinder Trojan seeks to steal the email addresses from users' address lists. Ransom Trojan seeks a ransom to undo damages it has done to the user's computers. Remote access Trojan can give an attacker full control over users' computers via a remote network connection. Trojan IM targets instant messaging by stealing login and password on IM platforms. And SMS Trojan infects mobile devices by sending fake text messages. SQL injection is a code injection technique to access and manipulate databases. Most applications receive data through a user interface and then store the data in a database for permanent storage. The data can be accessed through SQL scripts like select, edit, and delete commands. In SQL injection, hackers exploit the vulnerabilities of the application and system to insert their SQL codes to be able to read or modify data of the database. For example, here in this slide, we have a customer named Jack Fox. To be able to load his information into the form, a SQL script must be run on a server. Through this piece of code, hackers can insert their intended codes and eventually get access to the database or server. Using SQL injection filters and firewalls can mitigate this issue. Man-in-the-middle attacks, also known as eavesdropping attacks, occur when attackers insert themselves into a two-party transaction. Once attackers interrupt the traffic, they can filter and steal data. Phishing is the act of sending spam emails by imitating to be from a legitimate source. The goal is to steal sensitive data like credit card and login information, or to install malware on victim's machine. Spoofing is a cyber attack in which someone or something pretends to be something else to be able to get access to the system, steal data, steal money, or spread malware. Spoofing attacks come in many forms, such as email spoofing, website spoofing, text message spoofing, and GPS spoofing. A denial of service attack floods servers by faking requests from clients to exhaust resources of a server. Once the server runs out of any of its resources, such as memory or hard disk space, it will crash. So the system is unable to fulfill legitimate requests. Thus, attack tries to target the availability of a system by flooding that system. Attackers can also use multiple compromised devices to launch this attack, which is known as Distributed Denial of Service Attack or DDoS attack. DNS tunneling exploits the DNS protocol to tunnel malware and other data through a client-server model. The attacker first registers a domain to target the DNS server. The attacker infects a computer which often lies behind a company's firewall with malware. Because DNS requests are always allowed to move in and out of the firewall, the infected computer is allowed to send a query to the DNS resolver. The DNS resolver routes the query to the attacker's command and control server when the tunneling program is installed. A connection is now established between the victim and the attacker through the DNS resolver. This tunnel can be used to filtrate data, or for other malicious purposes. Because there is no direct connection between the attacker and victim, it is more difficult to trace the attacker's computer. Ransomware is a type of malware that threatens to publish private data of the victim unless a ransom is paid. It uses cryptoviral extortion that encrypts victims' files, making them inaccessible. It is carried out using Trojan Horses. One major ransomware attack that happened during 2020 and 2021 was an attack on Colonial Pipeline Co., which halted the normal operation of the company. The ransom the company paid was about $4.4 million.